So welcome everybody to the podcast. This is Haunted Hacker podcast number, I don't know, let's make it 100, make it a turning point for us. Tonight we have everybody from the BIC, the Blackstone Cybersecurity, which I'm really excited about. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start off with a little bit of news, some updates, and then we'll go right into the interviews. I'm really excited about this. So the news. Regarding any new news other than this is episode 100. The anniversary is coming up on the 30th, and it'll be a 24-hour podcast. It'll go through Halloween day. This will be really cool. We'll have some DJs and some special guests, and everybody's welcome to come. Other than that, we're going to get started. So I have 4 of you guys here tonight, which is pretty awesome. I have to say, this is the most number of guests we've done at one time. So bear with me here. So Blackstone Cybersecurity, I know a lot about the group and what kind of stuff you guys do, and it's pretty phenomenal. What I'm going to do is have you guys introduce yourselves one at a time and give us a little bit of your background and kind of who you are, what your journey was like, and what you do for BIC. Since Nico is to my right, Nico, why don't you go ahead and start? You're muted though.
Yes. Pardon my my laughter. Hi, how you doing, everybody? My name is Nico Smith. Call sign Socks. I am the director of Red Team Operations for Blackstone Cybersecurity, and I'll try and keep everything into a cliff notes. I have roughly about 17 years of experience in IT, with about 8 of those years being focused in InfoSec. I've acquired. I own a /24 and some rec space, and I'm leveraging that in order to develop red team operations such as CTF builds for BIC. And as well as reaching out to the community and providing desktop as a service during COVID times for underprivileged youth. So that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
That's pretty awesome. Thank you, Nico. And why don't we go with Alex next, since she's to your right. Hey, Alex, you're muted.
Hey guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi there. My name's Alex. I'm serving as our Director of Public Relations here at Blackstone Cyber, or BIC, headquarters. And I'm just diving into my InfoSec education, as well as just understanding the InfoSec community, coming from a marketing background. So every day I'm always learning something new. Recently, I restored my iMac. So that's been my little journey here, learning more about cyber, learning more about computers, and just venturing in on my journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex. Garrison, why don't you go ahead and go next?
Sure. Hey, everyone. Garrison Best, Director of Communications for Blackstone Cybersecurity HQ. I have about 5 years of experience in cybersecurity, specifically on the consulting side. So I do a lot of client-facing work. And yeah, I've been rocking with BIC. Love it. Love the people, love the community, and just love growing the cybersecurity field.
Awesome. Thank you, Garrison. And last but not least, the chief in charge, Michaela.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michaela Barnett. I'm the Chief Executive Officer and founder of Blackstone Cybersecurity, otherwise known as the official headquarters. Currently, I am a consultant at a premier consulting firm, and I consider myself a cybersecurity hobbyist. My interests include offensive security, developing capture the flag challenges, playing capture the flag, and teaching others.
That's awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming tonight. So who wants to talk about the organization as a whole? Who wants to be the first one to lead off? Do you guys just want to have an open discussion about BIC and the kind of stuff you guys are doing right now? Want to fly that way? So why don't you tell us about the events that you guys have? Because I saw that you guys have events, you have training seminars, you guys do all kinds of stuff, mentorship, just an insane amount of stuff. So tell me about what it's like to run this group and provide this type of service and community two other people. I mean, you guys have a huge presence on the internet. So why don't you tell me what it's like to be part of BIC and kind of what you guys are doing?
Sure, I'll take that one. Hey everyone, this is Michaela again. We do a lot of events throughout the year. Some are kind of micro and in the community, some are kind of macro as far as our conferences and our recent village at Defcon, which we're excited to go back to. Our year calendar kind of consists of our study groups, everything from Sec Plus, Net Plus, all the way to OSCP and CIS. So those happen on a weekly basis. We also have our lightning talk series featured on our YouTube channel where we present other talks that are kind of left out or in between conferences. And then we have different micro events around our nation as well as internationally via our big groups in our chapters. As far as our 4 main events throughout the year, we have our, we kick out every year with our winter conference that happens in February. That's our big premier conference, our flagship conference. Then we head into the spring with our virtual con, which is usually always virtual and streaming via our services. We head into the summer and we go to our Defcon village, as well as visiting other local cybersecurity conferences and events. And then we tie it up with our secret con in the fall.
Awesome. So at Defcon, how many years have you guys been going to Defcon?
Actually, it's kind of a complex answer to that. We started out going as a meetup group and as a meetup, Defcon 27. Then we got hit with COVID and everything went online. So we tried to have a few virtual events and we had our first inaugural village this year.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. So Defcon, I remember way back in the day when Defcon was, it used to be at the Rio and, we've had it at a couple different places and it used to get pretty chaotic. I think my first couple of years, I didn't make too many of the talks. I was more interested in going to the parties and breaking the challenges so I could get invites to special parties. So I don't know if they still do that or not. I've been out of the country for, a number of years and just recently got back last October. So I haven't been to DEF CON since, probably 2016, 2015. So what do you guys think about DEF CON? What do you think about the environment and the culture and just the overall feel of DEF CON? Nico?
Cool. So,
go
ahead, Garrison. Go
I
ahead.
was going to say, so our village was my first DEF CON. I've known about it, been wanting to go, and I finally got a chance to go. It was definitely a great experience. It's a information overload for me. It was a lot of stuff, a lot of people, great people, and just to have our village there and be able to showcase what we're doing just made it even more exciting event. But DEF CON is great. I'm looking forward to going back and trying to participate and do a lot more activities next time. You gotta and try to stay up.
Yeah, for real. What about you, Nico? What's your favorite part about DEF CON?
Oh wow. So I've been going since DEF CON 10. Nice. And it's always it's all of the different opportunities for the crossroads of people's different interest groups kind of coming together and working in really unique ways. And for me specifically, just seeing the welcome, the open arms, that the warm receipt that we had as a village, and just the different friends that's the one time of year that's actually part of my negotiation strategy for jobs. Like I say, hey, either you're gonna send me or you just give me the time off and you don't pay me. But that's the one time that we really, as cyber professionals, have a chance to fellowship together. So I'm super happy about that, and definitely happy to welcome in the new generation of cyber professionals, specifically within the BIPOC element.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of looked familiar. That's why I asked how long you've been going to DEF CON, because I think I've seen you there before. Actually, we probably met. So yeah, like DEF CON to me is a chance to get together with what I call my tribe, right? So the people that are just like me, that have the same interests and the same goals in life. It's a really good place to network. And, looking back at my first days in DEF CON, I met some of my best friends. I met Tom Ryan, met Ralph Eshmandia, and Luke McComey, Pyro from DC 303. I'm actually working with him now. So we work together at a company called Blue Bastion and doing red team and blue team stuff. So the friends that you make in that culture tend to be friends that you keep for a very, very long time. And that's what I like about it. Alex, did you get a chance to go to Defcon? Nope. Alex, you're still muted.
Unmute. Can you hear me now?
Now we
I don't
can.
know why I was muted. I definitely clicked the button. Okay. Well, to answer your question, I didn't get a chance to go this year because for some reason Texas wasn't flying anybody out at that point to Las Vegas. But it was nice to be boots on the ground. I definitely got the full Defcon experience of being up 24/7, making sure everybody had everything they needed, and going and organizing as well everyone's itineraries to getting to the locations and getting us ready, as well as making sure we had everything we needed for our village. So that was really fun. It was nice to see everybody having an amazing time, and as well as networking, creating that friends and community that BIC is known for. But also, we had also had a documentary created for us from our videographer that many could view to feel like they were there with us as well. So if people are interested in that, they can certainly check it out on our YouTube channel.
Absolutely. I'll probably be posting that in the show notes so everybody can get a good look at it. And I'd like to watch it too. I haven't seen that yet. Sounds pretty interesting. So do you guys do podcasts as well, or have you thought about doing podcasts, or what's the plan for that?
Well, that's definitely something we could see to be in the works for BIC HQ as a whole. I'm sure everyone else would be interested in it too, as we expand more of our branding, but also expand just more things that we do as an organization. So I wonder, Michaela, what do you think? Oh, we are on SoundCloud as well, so there's that.
I was definitely going to elaborate on started kind of pulling the audio from our YouTube channels, putting them on SoundCloud, and in the process kind of converting that so people can have something to listen to as well as watch. So we're definitely interested in converting our talks and different panels that we've had into podcasts. That's
a lot of fun. I think podcasting during the pandemic, podcasting got really, really popular, and it seemed like everybody and their brother came up with a podcast. I actually came up with mine last October, and it was just fly by night type of idea between me and my roommate, and it was like, well, we got something to talk about, so might as well have fun with it, and it turned into this, a full-blown show. Yeah, and I think with what you guys do, the more that you can get that word out and the more that you can spread it, the better off everybody will be. I talked to Tanisha from Black Girls Hack earlier this season during the podcast, and I have to say, coming from DC, that's where I was born, was in DC, and seeing these type of groups pop up there makes me happy. It makes me happy that people are actually getting the word out and spreading the word and actually building the community a lot more. I remember when I first got into hacking, it was very much a niche type activity, and the personalities tend to be so similar. There wasn't a lot of diversity. But it's nice to see all types of people joining, hacking groups or joining Defcon from all over the world. I got to see a lot of it when I was in Europe. So Garrison, I know that you are in the military. Is that correct? No? Nico. Yeah, I saw you in your uniform. So you're part of correct me if I'm wrong, a cyber warfare unit?
I'm part of a cyber protection team currently. Currently part of one of the cyber protection teams within the U.S. Army National Guard, and I'm currently beginning transfer back to the civilian population. So within the next 60 to 90 days, I'll be back in the civilian sector, looking to leverage my civilian acquired skill sets back for the fight for good, right? So super looking and being excited about that, and always proud of my opportunity to serve this great nation.
Absolutely. So did you serve active duty time and then you did your reserve time, or was it strictly just reserve time?
So I started out as a 11 Bravo, which is an infantry guy, right? That's back in 2002. got injured, got out, still wanting to serve following September 11th, things like that. Found a new, different way for me to come back in because I was previously enlisted, became an officer, still having that passionate desire to serve our nation, and was actually military intelligence. And from military intelligence, I happen to be one of those weird guys that was an MI guy that spoke cyber or spoke signal, and that just kind of opened up the pathway for us to open up doors. So that led me from being reserve or National Guard into an actual active duty status for a small period of time, a short deployment down to Meade, where we built some really amazing things for Cyber Command. And since then, everything's been kind of AGR, which is like your full-time active duty and reserve status, right?
Right.
So,
right.
So I mean, I have nothing but a lot of fond memories of the ability for me to leverage my civilian acquired skill sets, and working directly with the 91st Cyber Brigade, so shouting those guys out, and also leveraging about 40 hours a week to support BIC in mentorship and different passions that I have that can't quite be captured in the uniform.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have similar backgrounds. I was military intelligence as well. I was signal intelligence. And actually, I was born at Fort Meade, so I know that area very well. And I actually served at the Joint Force Intelligence Command in Virginia. And before I got out, transrated over to CTN, which was the Navy's new cyber warfare rate. I was one of the first into that rate. We didn't have a class or a test or anything. You just went before board and answered some questions. So yeah, it's cool to see that background. It plays very well in cyber. I see a lot of guys that came from those ranks, from intelligence into cybersecurity and red teaming, blue teaming. It's really good. It's a really good transferable rate from the military. So, Michaela, tell me how BIC came to be and kind of the vision for BIC, and whose idea was it to form BIC, and tell me how it was like building this group and coming up with the vision and putting it into action.
Sure, I'll definitely go into that story because it is quite interesting. But first, I wanted to mention that we do have our military relations program starting up and running. So we're interested in connecting with that community and bringing those resources. But
Absolutely.
back to your original question. So 2018, I'm freshly turned my tassel from college. I'm walking around my first B-sides DC, and I'm looking around. I came from a historically Black college university, Delaware State University. And after being kind of immersed in my culture for 4 years, I came back out into the world ready to be an awesome practitioner. So I was looking around and I was noticing there wasn't as much diversity as I was accustomed to seeing. So I turned to my college friends and was like, hey, we should do something about that. We don't really see a lot of opportunities for our community and our culture. And one thing I noticed was that a lot of these opportunities are often really affordable and really accessible. We just don't really know about them as a culture and a community because it's just not as much of an aligned career path as it could be. So that's just one thing that really drove me to say, hey, let's get our resources together, let's try something. So we began as a group chat, and the group chat kind of went around different communities and grew, and then we broke off into chapters. So we had what we called BIC ambassadors. Our first 9 campus ambassadors at HBCUs would gather up their classmates and just have meetings, talk about cyber, do capture flags together, kind of just build that community on their campuses. And then that branched out to local locations, and it became this kind of network of group chats and people just gathering people together to have conversations, do dinners, do different activities. So that was the first phase, just kind of getting out there and like branching out. Then we became a like a meetup group. So we had our very first mini-con in Greenbelt, Maryland. I remember that day. Very like interesting and tumultuous because me and my friend were like, oh my gosh, what if nobody shows up? What are we gonna do? So we gathered our stuff up, we got our little projector and our little cheese board. We thought we were cool with the cheese board and like some sodas, and we're like, all right, that should be cool. So We had a couple speakers. Some people came with their slides. Some people just stood up and spoke about their experiences. And at the end, we just became a closer knit group of people after that. And then it kind of snowballed from there. Just people wanted mini cons, different locations wanted ambassadors. And before you knew it, we had our very first winter conference in February of 2019, which is crazy to think that's almost 2 years, or maybe it is 2 years. But there we had a lot of firsts. We had our first Black owned and operated Capture the Flag hosted by Nico Smith, otherwise known as SOX ETF, which was really impactful because a lot of students had never seen themselves in that light before, that they could be engineers of such interesting challenges, or they could even pursue cyber. So that really made an impact. And all the way up to our first group of speakers that were made up of those who were kind of known, those who may not have been as comfortable to speak because they didn't see very many people like them. So that was a really impactful event. And from there, we headed into the quarantine where we kind of duplicated overnight because other people, they just didn't have as much to worry about. I guess they didn't have to go places. So our online group just grew and grew, and it grew into what it was today.
That's pretty awesome. And you must be a really good leader, because this group tends to grow and grow and grow, which is really good to see. And so tell me how you guys go about, I know you do the meetups and you have the different chapters. Who can get involved, and what kind of things can they get involved with if they want to help out BIC?
We definitely say that even if you don't have that much to spare or resources to give, liking or retweeting always helps, because you never know who's on your timeline that can benefit from joining our community. So that's always something that's free and accessible to mostly everyone who has social media. So that helps. Further up from then, if people have extra resources to spare, such as older books or training materials, those are definitely needed. And we do have our home lab kit that we like to make up and give to those who are in need at our in-person conferences. And hopefully we can get a pipeline to do something that's kind of, internet-based, we can ship things out. But those home lab kits mean so much to these college kids who can't really afford it, or these high school kids whose parents might not understand. But that book or that Raspberry Pi really does make a difference. So those things are definitely things people can get into. And as well as circulating our events, we definitely have a lot of events that pop up. A lot of them are streamed right now. So joining a stream, dropping a comment, those are always things you can do. YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, where else are we streaming? LinkedIn. We're pretty much on everything you can have a stream.
Everywhere.
Yeah. So
everywhere. That's pretty awesome. I think, just thinking about how you guys are set up and the kind of stuff you guys do, I could almost envision a haunted hacker and a BIC CTF at some point. Maybe we could set that up. I'd be really interested to open it up and have like a mentor moment and bring some of the kids that are interested in cyber and involve them in the CTF. I think that'd be really cool. Plus, I haven't done a CTF in a while. I think it'd be a lot of fun. So Garrison, tell me about your journey and what brought you into BIC and kind of your ideas behind where you want to see it go and what you're doing.
Absolutely. So my journey is pretty similar to Michaela's. So I was one of the people in the first meetups, and there's about 12 of us. So it wasn't a big group. I think for me, what brought me to BIC is that I went to a historically Black university, a college university as well. Being at school, I saw a lot of strong candidates in cybersecurity, but also in the engineering field. And but once I got to the workforce, it kind of broke up. And I wanted to see more people that kind of looked like me, that wanted to do cybersecurity and be a part of tech. So when I ran across the meetup, it was just cool just to be able to talk about have a conversation about cybersecurity, to which most people, everybody doesn't know cybersecurity. Nowadays, it's a big topic and people are learning more and more about it. But, it hasn't always been a trending topic all the time. And so to be able to talk with people that look like me, that had that background, was great. It made me want to do more. Okay, what certifications can I get? What can I do in the community? What can I do to get more people involved? And so that's what BIC's all about. And I enjoy that the way we have the structure is that, Michaela allows us to really kind of run our divisions and make sure that we're just giving back to our community. And it gives a lot of freedom to just give us the opportunity to grow in ways that we might have, not thought of. Hey, let's think about this and what this would be cool. And we just at the end of the day, we're a part of the community, but we're also, that's the point of the whole organization, is that if we want to get something and somebody needs something, a training or help or a safe space, that's what we're there for to give. And that's our big mission, is to make sure everyone is getting the most out of it. So yeah, I mean, I love it. I'm ready for us to continue to grow and just see how many people we can touch, and yeah, do cool things like this. I haven't done many podcasts, so this is awesome. Thanks for letting us come
Absolutely.
here.
Absolutely. It's great having you guys on. You know, when I look at the way the industry was built, and, you know, because I'm not going to try to date myself here, but there was no cybersecurity and all we had was BBS. So back in those days, the type of users that were on those platforms and doing the things I did were usually long-haired, long-beard, white guys that were Linux administrators that wouldn't help you do shit. And it drove me crazy. And then IRC came along. You just go into an IRC channel and try to get some information on how to do something, and everybody flame you and tell you, oh, you know, go read the manual, you know, get out of here, whatever. So it's nice to see like communities being built to help everybody. And, you know, it's becoming more, I guess, welcoming and kind of a warm community instead of, you know, the people hiding the secrets like back in the day. So I assume that Alex is probably the face of BIC, with her bubbly personality and you know, her outgoing spirit. So tell me, what brought you into cyber, Alex?
Well, a lot of people know me as the Chief Flex Officer here at BIC headquarters, but I don't think I'm the face at all, although I do share a face with Michaela. But yeah, I guess I could be more considered outgoing. And I think that, well, when it comes to just getting into InfoSec as a whole, first of all, having Michaela as a direct link, just telling me how to keep myself and how to, you know, look in the, or not look in the community, but more like just act, because I had the tendency to just be talkative, and a lot of people sometimes would like just a couple of questions at a time. So I'm learning that. But deep diving into just learning more about InfoSec as a whole, coming with a lot of respect for you guys, and learning just my little things here and there. I'm actively studying for my little A+ right now. So a lot of support, a lot from the community, especially all of my cohorts here. Everyone's amazing, teaching me new things every day, as well as just helping me out with the little things as I build up my skills. So it's been a real pleasure just to be a part of this. Of course, so much respect for the community as a whole, and I'm coming into it so humbly, just learning so much from everyone.
That's really awesome attitude to have too. I love to see when people come in and they're open to learning. It's hard to deal with people who come in and they know everything, and you can't teach them anything. They have all the bad habits, and you know, it's really nice to see fresh faces. One of the things that I really appreciate about the community, especially BIC and like Tanisha's group, is that when people come out of college, you know, I remember what it was like trying to get into, you know, this whole new industry that was forming. And I look at kids now and they're trying to get into the industry, and they ask me, how did you do it? You know, what can I do? And everybody needs certifications. And I know for me, you know, being, you know, a kid, there was no way that I was going to be able to afford a $5,000 certification. There was no way that, you know, I couldn't graduate college. I went to college many times, but never finished, had good grades, but never finished. I couldn't keep my attention that long. So it's nice to see these groups actually helping people make that transition and helping direct them and give them what they need to be successful. Because there's not a whole lot of it, especially when you look at HRs and you go in for job interviews. And the first thing you ask is, you know, what certifications do you have? What experience do you have? So my suggestion to them is, you know, the people getting into it is find a project, find something you're interested in, work on that project, research it, document it, put it on GitHub, whatever you can to show that you're actually working towards a goal. And that'll build experience as well. And being, you know, a part of BIC, or, you know, being part of the Defcon groups or the numerous groups that are out there, shows that you have that mindset and you're really pushing forward. Not everybody's as fortunate as, you know, being able to go into the military and come right out and, you know, bam, you know, they've got a job. It's really difficult for some people. So I really appreciate that. So given the fact that you guys do all of these things and it keeps you busy and you guys have so many events every year, how do you guys balance your time between BIC and personal lives? Like, tell me, especially Nico. Nico, tell me how you do that, because I'm interested.
Time is a man-made construct. That's about where I'll put it. So if anyone has seen me talk, on my Who Am I slide, I have at the top, father of two, right? This is my favorite, my most treasured job in the world. So looking at the ability to organize and kind of time manage, really has to sink, and I think it speaks very deeply to this idea that I think people are coming around to, which is cybersecurity as a lifestyle, and you have to have the passion to do so. And because I care so much, and I'm so excited about being part of an organization like BIC and being able to reach out and touch so many people and kind of be the thing that you needed but wasn't around, is kind of what drives it. So we have 24 hours in a day, and I use roughly, and I think Garrison or Michaela can probably attest, I use about 21 to 22 of those hours specifically on developing new concepts or new opportunities for, not only for BIC, but coming up with innovative ways. And before I hop off, just going back to your statement about Michaela being a really amazing CEO, an amazing leader, I have to agree with Garrison and Alex in that way, where being able to be granted the latitude and the trust from your leadership is one of the things that makes the work not work, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So, and that brings me to Michaela. So, we've heard about how you guys operate as a group and kind of what brought you into cyber. What were some of the hurdles and maybe some of the difficult things about forming a group, and how did you overcome it?
Okay. Well, unfortunately, there wasn't a whole lot of diversity in the space before we kind of started showing up. So that definitely was a contributing aspect. People not necessarily being used to seeing people with different backgrounds or people that didn't look like them in a space where it was mostly homogenous. So that has its own difficulties as far as, trying to come across as, hey, we're here to also engage in the same things. There were a few people who may not have been as kind, whether they were behind the screen via the internet or maybe to our faces at times. But I think the important thing to focus on is that with the events that transpired last summer, people were able to see our community in a different light, and they were able to kind of empathize with our past as well as where we're going. So it made for an interesting transition from people not necessarily being used to our community being present to welcoming our community and helping themselves be better allies, as well as understanding what we were there to do.
That's pretty awesome. I would definitely like to help you guys out in any way that I can. So, after the show or whatever, shoot me an email, let me know how I can contribute and help you guys along, because I really appreciate and honor what you guys do. I think it's really awesome. And you're right, sometimes it's hard starting a group, and not just because the organization and where you want to go and the vision and the things you take on. I know for me, Michaela, it's really difficult because I balance the group, I balance the podcast, I balance public speaking, working, consulting. It just, I was talking to Gerald Ozier yesterday about this and that burnout factor, and being too overwhelmed. And I think that's one of the pitfalls for having so much passion, is sometimes you take that passion and you run yourself into the ground. And I've been known to run myself ragged to the point where I need to take 2 days and just sleep. So yeah, building groups and building relationships is very important. But you're always going to have those people that have something negative to say or try to stand in your way. And I see that a lot on the internet in general. You know, the trolls, just don't feed the trolls, because the more you feed them, the more they'll come back. But yeah, it is difficult to do that. And it's difficult to start it and to keep it going. But with the numbers and with your organization and Michaela's leadership and the personalities you have here, just here on this podcast, I mean, that's a mix for success. So in the future, where would you guys like to see BIC go? I mean, are you planning on making this like a global type movement to where, you know, you have millions and millions of members, or, you know, where do you see this in 3 or 4 years from now?
Well, I'll jump in first. I know everybody else probably has some things, but we're currently actually pretty global right now. So we actually have a spinning up our BIC Africa entity, and we're working on our BIC Europe. So it's basically the same thing that we're doing here, but we're allowing it to those organizations to basically run freely and host their own conferences and meetups and the same makeup that we have in the United States. But I would definitely love to see it being a worldwide thing. We're not here to hold anybody back. We're here to help. And any person of color that wants any type of needs any resources or wants to help or wants to get their join our, we have a speaker development program. We have different development programs. I mean, we have a lot of stuff that we're just trying to give back, because if we can get more people involved in cybersecurity, it helps all of us. It's tons of jobs out there, and the more people we can get in those spaces, it's helping us. So we're not trying to hold any information back, and we're trying to just make sure that we give our resources and our time out. So yeah, I would love for it to be a huge global thing. And I made a joke that, you know, I really wish that, you know, one day people can come out of college and come from HBCU or come from any school and they say, hey, I'm in cybersecurity, and everybody knows, like, oh, you got to hit up BIC, you know, you got to talk to them first to see, you know, they have jobs, they have internships and everything. That's what I'm hoping for, because I want to make sure that we're helping out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Michaela, where do you see it going in the next 3 or 4 years? Where would you like it to go?
Yes, definitely piggybacking off what Garrison had said. I'd like it to be obviously more global and more tied into the cyber communities that are co-developing within our big groups. So I know there's a whole different independent cyber culture in Africa. So I'd really like to see BIC Africa expand and contribute to that community. I know that's different from Europe and Asia and the other places that we're expanding. So definitely emphasizing that global expansion. I'd also like to see us cultivate more capture the flag teams at HBCUs and at high schools, so that people can learn to love the game like we do and contribute to that as far as maker and hacker spaces.
Yeah, awesome. Speaking of Africa, you guys should probably touch base with Johnny Long. Johnny Long has Hackers for Charity, and he spent a lot of time in Africa, him and his wife, helping bring technology to different places within Africa. And he's got a lot of great stories. He actually, I think he still lives in Maryland, I believe. But I'll see if I can't get you guys hooked up with him. There's a lot of great people who are bringing technology to those other countries. And, you know, the more people that we can supply that technology to, the better off we'll be. Because my idea is that, you know, there are a lot of places that have internet, but parents can't afford to send the kids to school. They don't have exposure to cybersecurity. They don't have friends that are into it. And it makes things difficult. And those are some brilliant minds that probably could be movers and shakers within cybersecurity. And I think the more that we can reach out to those type of people and give them the tools that they need, you know, our world in general will be a better place. So Alex, tell me where you would like it to go.
Not forgetting to unmute. Yes. Well, as someone I'm looking at our bigger picture, I'd love to see us continue to grow. I'm very excited to go to our BIC Africa conferences, speaking those into existence, as I know they're going to come through. So that'll be an amazing experience. I'm excited to see us continue to partner, just like you've been saying with Tanisha and Black Girls Hack, one of our partners. I'd love to continue to consider new partnerships in the future, just so we can continue to spread our word out, as well as get as many resources to our kiddos, our CLADP program, as well as our newer community members as soon as possible to get them up and running, as that's one of my personal passions as a newcomer as well. So I'd love to see that for BIC.
Oh. Nika, what about you? World dominance, or where are we going with that?
Absolute war dominance. Michaela touched a little bit on kind of where I'd like to see us go, and that's in the CTF realm, as it's one of the best ways for people like us to maintain or to develop skill sets. But more to the point, I'd like to see more Black content creators, so CTF developers, and that's more inside of the wheelhouse and where I'd like to see BIC kind of expand, as well as, you know, ownership of IP spaces and, you know, really hosting and owning the very infrastructure that we're leveraging in order to execute the different things. So just watching that just grow as quickly as possible, as well as the people, the men and women that are supporting those type of initiatives.
Awesome. I don't know if you know Alton from Vonahai.io. It's an automated pen testing platform. They were one of our early sponsors for the podcast, and he's got an interesting platform that helps, you know, kind of automate pen testing and write and build reports. He'd be another great asset to talk to. Really good guy. But yeah, I mean, there's so many ways to branch out in cybersecurity. And I think that for me, one of my biggest hurdles was going out and putting myself out there. That was the hardest part, walking up onto a stage for the first time. You know, I have neurodiversity, and you know, doing a podcast and being public and being in front of people is a huge step. And I like the fact that you guys have a speaker program to teach people how to do public speaking and make themselves more confident in getting out there and sharing. Because I think one of the big downfalls that we have in the industry, there's so many brilliant people, but we only hear from a select few repetitively. You know, it'd be nice to have more speakers and more people share what they've gone through in cybersecurity and be accepted in the community. Because I feel like, you know, like I said, I feel like there's a very small percentage of the people who actually get their voices heard on a routine basis. And it's kind of why I built the podcast, was to give people a chance to tell their story and to get their word out and help other people. Because I didn't have that when I started. I got kind of thrown onto a stage in Scotland in front of like 40 people. And to me, that was a huge crowd. And then last week I went, so my career started out with 40 people in a college classroom in Scotland back in 2018. And just last week, I was in front of 1,000 people all over the world. So, I mean, there are so many avenues and so many opportunities. And as long as you believe in yourself and you have the confidence and you have the support, I mean, there's no telling where you can go. So I really like that about the groups that you guys build and what you have going on. I mean, I think it's really genuine. So tell me, Nico, what's the hardest part about teaching red teaming to people who don't know about red teaming? So I know for me that sometimes that's a dilemma. Tell me how you approach that.
The best way that I could explain it is I approach it as if I'm teaching a different language. Mm-hmm. So because it definitely is pedagogically, when we start talking about what's necessary in order to solve the problems, it comes from an array of different, there is no one way. And sometimes that's a really great thing, and sometimes it's a bad thing, because the repeatability aspect that people are accustomed to seeing. So when some of the hardships come from lack of exposure or confidence, as some people have spoken to, and to that, one of the things that I do to try and really help people who are trying to learn how to CTF or how to get shell or something like that. One, I research a lot, and two, I think Platt Parliament of Poning did a talk. The leader or the founder did a at RSA a couple years ago about how to develop great hackers, and just really pulling from my experiences and really putting everything that I have into the work is what I've done to try and overcome some of those problems. But as far as the community that we're facing, I think a large part of our hardships always lie inside of lack of access. And so I try and tear down as many, so that goes back to the whole /24 purchase and having infrastructure that translates to now you don't have to have a computer to participate. I can provide that to you. So that a labor of love.
Awesome. So do you guys have, what kind of sponsorship do you guys have? How do you keep the group going, Michaela? What kind of things do you do to help, I guess, build surplus so that you can give this stuff back to the community?
Right. So first and foremost, we like to partner and work with those who are in the hacker and maker space. So definitely want to talk to and collaborate with communities like Black Girls Hack, Black Girls in Cyber, Empower Cyber, and other organizations. So that's our first kind of rung of contributing and building community. Secondly, we like to find organizations that align with our ideals and our philosophy as far as hands-on learning and connecting with the community and the culture. So we are working with organizations such as Amazon Web Services, Palo Alto, SYNAC, and hopefully building out our different programs in collaboration with them, as well as helping fulfill some of their open roles. So we definitely, all in all, like to just collaborate with the community and companies that support our community efforts.
Awesome. Yeah. When we first started, one of the things I did was set up donations because I didn't want to sell product. I just wanted to give back. But one of the dilemmas I found was the ability to give back requires funds. And, without sponsorship, you're kind of stuck. We didn't have sponsorships when we first started, so we just set up a Patreon and started generating, money to keep things going so I could pay for the Zoom, so we could get equipment, stuff like that. And, of course, we had the Discord. But I think, eventually I'd like to see our group actually be able to stand on its own without having to go out and get sponsorship or donations. And the magazine was one of those first steps, getting that out there and being able to publish that. And hopefully eventually getting it into some sort of print model. So getting your word out, I know you guys do public speaking. I know that you're involved with other groups. How else do you guys get your word out? And I guess that's pointed more towards Alex, as far as, what are the avenues and venues that you get the word out about BIC?
Well, ultimately, our community is one of our fastest spreaders of news. I mean, on that, not just within our Discord community, our LinkedIn community, and then overall on YouTube, that's upwards of maybe 17,000 to 18,000 people as we put all that together. So our community is strong, very much so, community first in that aspect. But when it comes down to our public relations and strategy in regards to that, we often with our partners, but also within publications, going on podcasts and appearances such as this, as well as uploading a lot of what we do on YouTube and our conferences, as well as their talks and whatnot that generate a lot of viewers, but also a lot of interest in our community as well. So ultimately community driven first, but then as well, having appearances like this really help spread the word about BIC.
Yeah, absolutely. So this podcast will be shown on Techstrong TV at some point, and it'll be played 3 times in 1 week, and they have roughly something like 10,000 viewers. So hopefully that'll help generate more for you guys. So I always like to ask my guests, if there was one thing that you could change about the cybersecurity industry, and one of your passions that you really want to change that's not going so well, what would it be? And I'll go ahead and start with Nico first.
I would say that cybersecurity as a whole, from the defense and even the offensive side, needs a new branding campaign, needs a new ad campaign. Because right now there's a weird preference over, hey, I want to get my OSCP, I want to be offensive, right? And that's okay. I'm not bashing that, but I think in that we start to lose the value that blue team brings to the table. And the fact that if I am red teaming for a company, I'm actually blue teaming for them, right? So I think through more honest dialogue about understanding how different exploits occur inside of networks will help people more visualize the reason why we need a better budget for cybersecurity, and that all automated solutions are not the way, and ultimately that the skill sets that are presented the skill sets required to be successful in cybersecurity aren't always captured underneath the umbrella of computer science. You know, it could be from a person with a fine arts degree. Wink, wink. So
who has that?
That's me.
Nice.
So I do see the value in those things, but I think that a little bit more honest dialect in that way. And I think the more that we have these non-standard thinkings or thinkers inside these spaces, then opens up that neurodiversity that we're always looking for. And that in turn opens up the door for actual diversity within our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So you brought up a good point about red teaming and blue teaming. So, you know, the industry as a whole kind of looks at people coming in industry. The first thing I hear from all the kids is I want to be a hacker. Next question is how much do you make? So those two factors alone drive me nuts. And what I tell people, what I tell my analysts on my MDR team is that in order to be good at either side, it doesn't matter which side you pick, but you've got to know both sides. If you don't know how to hack and you don't know what you're looking at, you can't defend it. And Sun Tzu said it best, you know, the only way to beat your enemy is to know your enemy and become your enemy. So I rely pretty heavily on that. I'm glad you touched on the blue team versus red team aspect of it, because that's always been, you know, the issue. You know, nobody wants to be blue team because they want to be that, you know, Hollywood genre of the hacker behind the dark screen or whatever. Garrison, what about you? What would you like to change about cybersecurity industry as a whole?
I'm going to piggyback with what Sock said. I'm just looking for people to not overlook it and to make sure, like, no matter what you're involved in, you might have a skill that can be used in cybersecurity, and utilizing what you're good at. Every time I talk to someone, I always tell them, like, find out what you're passionate about, and then research that passion against cybersecurity and see what you can find, because everybody wants to be happy when they're working, right? And you don't want to just be going to work and be like, oh, I gotta pay this bill, so I gotta be here. So, but if you find something you're passionate about, you wake up happy and you know that, hey, I'm doing something to either help somebody or doing something that I appreciate. So I just hope more people just think about, like, hey, like, if I'm interested in it, if it's something that I think that I might be good at, like, don't turn away from it because you think that you might not have the skills for it. Like, do your research and make sure you put the effort in, and then you can find out if it's for you or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Michaela, what about you? What would you like to see change about cybersecurity as an industry?
I think just like everyone else kind of touched on, I'd like to see more emphasis on that neurodiversity, because that does bring the diversity as well as help connect dots weren't previously seen before. And with our recent season of breaches and incidents, I do think that having more diverse backgrounds and more diverse perspectives would definitely be a great play on everyone's part. With that, I think communication and as well as training of staff members and team members on basic cybersecurity hygiene and anything they can do to help further their own personal cybersecurity skills, whether that is pivoting to another role or even just having better personal security with 2FA or stronger passwords and different other fundamentals. I think that's really important and definitely needs to be more circulated, spoken about, and just overall distributed amongst our community.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The whole, you know, cybersecurity being a lifestyle that Nico touched on earlier. I think because it's a passion and because we enjoy what we do, it becomes part of who we are. And you're right, Garrison, you're totally right. You have to enjoy what you do. And I love what I do. And I think that's what keeps me doing it 24 hours a day and just wearing myself out, is the fact that passion never goes anywhere. I've been known to stay up until like 2 or 3 in the morning until I get this exploit to work. And sometimes that passion drives you, and it makes me happy to be able to go to work. Now, I will say the only time I do dread a phone call is when someone calls about an IR, because I know for the next 4 days, I'm not going to sleep and it's just going to be chaos. And I don't deal with chaos very well. So we're at the end of the hour. Do you guys have any questions for me or for the group? I'll open it up to you guys, and if you have any questions, shoot.
I have one.
Sure.
What is your most fulfilling thing about doing this podcast? Like what makes you, continue to do it? And yeah.
And just meeting people like you guys, forming new relationships, exchanging ideas from different points of view. And I told Gerald Ozier yesterday, I said, I learned something new from every guest I have. And I challenge myself, if there's somebody out there that has an advanced degree or are very deep in what they do, I may not know anything about what they do or their job, but an hour sitting down with them and talking to them and building that relationship, I learn something every time. So that's my passion. That and working with kids, I think is really big. We've had a lot of young kids join our group and listen to the podcast. I guess the median age for the podcast is ages 15 to 23. So we're reaching that target audience that we wanted to. And then we're, reaching the professionals and the old timers too. But that's a good question. And, I appreciate that, because to me, cybersecurity and just life in general is about relationships. And, every time I meet a guest, they become one of my new best friends. So that's the way I look at it. Any other questions?
I have one.
Mm-hmm.
As you're seeking to grow talent within your organization or even previous organizations, what's something that you can pass on to us as kind of a nugget or a takeaway as we reach out to try and mature young cyber professionals?
So one thing I try not to do, and this goes back as long as I can remember in my life, is I try not to judge people based on certifications or degrees. To me, certifications are important to get that base knowledge or whatever, but it's a test, and it's a very limited test. I like to see the way people's minds work. Creativity is huge to me. You had a fine arts degree. I went to art school as well. And I think in red teaming and penetration testing, you have to have a level of creativity in order to do those functions. So what I do is I look at, how they communicate, how their mind works, and how I came up with that theory about creativity and how the mind works, and suitable for which position in cyber, is I went to Redmond, Washington in 2005 and interviewed for Microsoft. And I have to tell you, in 2005, it was a week-long interview, and there were no technical questions at all. The very first interview I had, I sat in a room and it was cluttered with stuff in this woman's office. And she says, pick an object in the room, and, I'm thinking of an object in the room, and you ask the least amount of questions it takes to figure out what the object is that I'm thinking of. So it's just deductive reasoning, and just little things like that. That for lunch, they said, what's your favorite food? And I said, well, since I'm from Texas, I love steak and potatoes or whatever. So they take me to a vegan restaurant. And so it was all just a mind game. They wanted to see how you function, how you communicated, the way that you as a person is constructed. So I would say, don't rely so heavily on people's backgrounds, whether it be in cyber or IT, because everybody has something to contribute. And I think when we become exclusive and we don't include everybody, we minimize and reduce the way that we fight risk, because it takes everybody's mindset in order to fight a problem. And I'm really a big advocate for women in cyber as well. And I think that, we all think differently. And I think to make a balanced team And, you know, a good relationship is you have to have the male and female on the team to look at it from different points of view. When you close your blinders and you hire nothing but guys, you hire nothing but girls, you always lack something. And you see it all over the place. And those teams don't stay together. They don't have that cohesiveness. So I try to mix in a little bit of everything, but I don't shut my eyes when it comes to, oh, well, you don't have the right cert, I can't help you. Or, you know, when someone comes to me and says, well, I don't really know what I want to do in cyber, you know, then I look at what they've done in the past. You know, were you a doctor? Were you in the military? You know, and relate that to cyber. That's a good question. And, you know, hopefully, you know, more people will think that way, because I know that there's some organizations that if you have something in your past, like I do, they keep you from having a job. Or, you know, if you don't have that degree, or, you know, you don't know the right people, then they count you out. And I hate that about the industry. Michaela, do you have anything for me?
I guess on the lighter side, what do you like to do outside of your podcast and working in cyber?
Well, so like socks, I don't have a lot of that time. You know, like you said, there's 24 hours in a day, and I'm not sure exactly how many hours I can actually say that I'm free. But I do enjoy content creation. I actually started doing screenplays for Alyssa Knight and her media company, doing screenplays and doing content for her events. And I think, you know, to me, that was something I'd never tried before. And I was terrified. You know, after the podcast, she called me. She said, hey, I want you to you know, be a writer on my team and, you know, help write these short films. And I was like, yo, I don't know anything about film, and I have no idea how to write. So you probably asked the wrong person, but I challenged myself. I was like, you know, here's this, you know, top of the industry person that wants me to help them. And I was like, absolutely, and jumped right in. And I learned something new, and I actually really enjoy it. That, and I do fly fishing. I love music. I used to like to travel until the US decided they didn't want me to travel anymore. But other than that, you know, I just, you know, I did some professional boxing back in the day. Can't do that anymore because I'm a little bit too old. But yeah, I fought in Vegas in 2001. And that was another thing that I put myself out there and just tried, you know, and was actually halfway decent at it. But yeah, I mean, it's important to have hobbies outside of what we do. But like Nico said, you know, this is my passion, and, you know, I'm always building something with the Raspberry Pi, or building a retro arcade, or, you know, setting up VMs to hack, you know, just constantly doing something. So yeah, that's my fun time. So what little I get, but I appreciate the questions. Any last words before we go? Anything you want to shoot out there to people listening, or, you know, get the word out about something specific? Go for it.
Well, I just want to shout out my awesome team. I know you guys talked a little bit about me, but I really couldn't be the leader that I am today without my team. So Nico, Garrison, not Gary, and Alex, they're what make BIC great, and they're awesome. And it's great working with them. So shout out to them. And we also have an event coming up on Saturday that I think Alex wants to talk about.
Absolutely.
It's about that time for SecretCon. I'm gonna say. And shout out as well to our awesome team. I'm so happy to be a part of this. It's been awesome being on this ride, just seeing how we've been able to achieve this amazing feat, but also give back to our community and just be a part of that, and seeing so many people grow. We almost have one person a day telling us about a certification they've earned, so that's amazing. And just keeping that up within the community. But also, you know, of course, our next con's coming up, so shameless plug about that.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, guys. And, you know, it's an honor having you guys on the show, and anything I can do to help out BIC or contribute, just let me know, and I'll be there for you guys. And with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down, and I'll see you guys next time, and you're always welcome. See you guys later.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Good afternoon, everybody.